Hello, this is Jon Speelman with the video version of my latest monthly column for ChessBase, column 241 I believe, which I've entitled, let's go to it. I'm afraid my eyes are crap at the moment, I can't actually read from the screen. I normally have white on black now, but I thought it'd be a lot easier for you to read normally. So it says, 2 legs good, 4 legs better. And that's actually a misquote from Animal Farm. I forget. I think it started 2 legs good, 4 legs bad, which was what the farmers said. And then when the pigs basically became men, they went to 4 legs good, 2 legs better. But this is, I've said 2 legs good, 4 legs better, because when we analyse with a machine, which we call a centaur, so we have horses' hooves, we analyse, it makes a big difference. And this is, so I've got various things which I've analysed here, these positions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to ChessBase and to these, and here, this is here, and I'm going to start. So the first thing is a game, Svidler against Svidler-Lobron. And it was, the reason I've got it is because there was a moment at the end when it made a huge difference where a pawn was. So I've got these notes. I think I'm going to do this fairly quickly, actually. I said these have notes by Sergei Makarichev, I think it is. And I've put a few things in here and there, which you can read through. And basically we get through to this rook ending, we get to here. And so at the moment it's a race. And the interesting thing is that at this point, White played rook c6, Svidler played rook c6, but he should actually have played rook b6. And it goes like this, rook to there, here, 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 here. I don't think you can give checks and then go over really. Okay, so takes here. And we get to this position. So here we are. We've got pawn on the 7th, and you can either go rook c1, a7, or you can start giving checks. Is this where I finished my variation? I think it is actually, rook c1 here. But better to start giving checks, probably, really, check. And then there are 2 ways to win. One is to go this way. So eventually we go here and we go here. And the king comes back. And for the moment, we can't go pawn equals queen because of rook a1 check. But we just get the king out of the way, and that's the end of that. There's also another way you can do it. I think you can also go check here, check here, check here. You don't go to e7 because of rook c1. So now if rook c1 there's a7, so we try rook to there. And now we mustn't take an f7 because then rook c1 would win. We go to f8. And that's also a way to win, I think. I don't know if white can try to bring the rook up and get to the h-file, but I don't think that's really going to help very much. Maybe we could go here now. No, we can't go there, can we? Because we're threatened to queen already. So we have to go here, and then here, and then finally we win. So that's what he should have done. Sorry, Control S I want. And there they are. Now, what actually happened was that he instead went to that square. Didn't go to, why did he not, oh yeah, this is okay. And he didn't go to, he goes there, check. Now you don't go to c6, as then black queens would check, which is catastrophe. So you go to c5. On to the 7th. I assume you can't at this moment win by playing king takes rook, pawn equals queen, check, king b8, check, king b7, probably not, no. Okay, let's assume not. Anyway, he does. He went here, 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 here. If you start just pushing the c-pawns here, then you end up, black goes and queens, and he ends playing f2 after white queens. And so that's fairly simple, actually. Say you went, yeah, say you went here. Sorry, if I go and, I have to do this, c4. And of course this is a draw. It's a draw with a rook's pawn or a bishop's pawn is a draw. If it's a centre pawn or a knight's pawn, it's a win. Because in this position, after queen h3 check, king g1, queen g3 check, you just play king h1. And you don't get any time because queen takes pawn is stalemate. So anyway, king b6 is what was played, and Lobron resigned, which is sort of very clever and also extremely stupid at the same time. It's sort of showy-offy resigning so far from the end of the game. I don't want to be rude to Eric, but I mean, it's a silly thing to do. Yes, you think I'm losing. Yes, you can see that after here, sorry, after, if you go f4, it's simple. That's simple. But the line goes king here, king back to get the pawn, pawn equals queen, takes, takes, king, king. You're now threatening to queen the pawn, so you have to go king e5, king f3. Now if you go 4th, 5th, 5th, king moves, 6th, 6th, you both queen. So you push and you go here. And you got this thing where the king's going in two directions at once. Can you go f4 as well? 5th move, 6th. No, you can't. I don't think. Because then the king is too close, I believe. I assume that's true. Is that true that... you go there and you draw. Does f4 draw? f4 5th, king goes to g3, 6, 6, 7, 7, queen, queen. Not sure, actually. Maybe that's still a draw. Is that still a draw? I'm going to ask the engine, actually. f4 is a draw. Does that mean that the whole thing isn't true? That's not true. Oh no, because you can go king takes pawn here. That's the thing you do, of course. That's the main line. Is that, have I promoted variation? Promote variation. Yeah. You take, you go here, and you go here. And with the pawn on c3, black goes king d3 and draws. But if the pawn was in c2 here, then black would lose, because he couldn't approach the pawn. And that's the point of the position. It's like the stuff I did last month. So that's why in the initial position, if we go back here, basically, if the pawn was in c2, then after king b6 resigning would be perfectly reasonable. But with the pawn on c3, it's a draw. So it's interesting, I think. Luke McShane showed me that. Now the other things I've got this, which is this game, Firuza Saric in the first round of the Grand Chess Tour tournament in Zagreb. Excuse me. And okay, I'm going to do it very quickly. What happened was he did this move and he went queen f3, which is just a mistake. He was expecting him to take, and that because the knight couldn't get out easily, it would be, you'd have some compensation or something. But he'd missed here this move. Because now if you take, you go knight here, take here. and rook f3 is the only move not to lose the bishop, and take, rook b8 is given here as the best move, and obviously it's deeply unpleasant for white. Whether it's completely lost isn't obvious immediately, but if we're told it is, it's not that surprising, is it? I mean, awful position. So that's why he had to allow this knight to get to e5, at which point he's in deep trouble, basically. a5 isn't it? I thought you should just do this myself. Go here, here, and here. And just go takes here or something. And you've got the bishop and d4 or e5, can't be moved, defends the king side perfectly, and we start playing chess as black. And it's going to be pretty unpleasant, I would say. You can play rook b1 or something, if you can go a5, I don't know. You just play chess, and it's definitely, with the bishop and e5, it's a wonderful square, and you're much better as black. So I don't know if there's something better than that. However, okay, it's the first round, so it's a terrible tournament, actually. And, okay, I didn't like bishop f5 very much. I certainly didn't like knight c4 now. Yeah, at some moment he took this, didn't he, which is horrible. And I was, in this position, I was looking at queen h6. He actually played h3. Queen f8 was a mistake. Bishop e1 would have been reasonable in that position. And then if rook a3, you just get a position. And you play g5 at the end, I think, and try to surround the f6 pawn. And okay, white has a passed a pawn, but the game definitely continues. As it was, he went h3. But I was looking at this move, queen h6. Rook e1, knight to there, which is quite clever. There's this threat of queen h7 check now. And you go takes. And I was looking at queen e5. g5 is a good move, actually, because knight takes, there's queen e1, mate, of course, rook h3, the queen and e4 defends h7. So basically this is okay. After rook here, queen here, I think you can try g3, but it should end up as a draw, basically. Things happen. Do you not play... Why don't you play queen e2 check here? Surely you can go queen e2 check at this moment, can't you? Am I just talking complete crap? I think I'm talking complete crap. I'm sorry. That can rotate. Maybe you can't. So knight takes. Yeah, if queen e2 check, then white wins. So actually that's quite interesting, isn't it? I didn't even realise that. Check here. Check here. Check here. Check here. Takes. Because you can't takes, and there's no defence, is there? That's quite surprising, isn't it? Hadn't realised that earlier. Okay. Anyway, the thing that I really wanted to look at was queen h6. Sorry, I have to peer. I do apologise for the peerings, but it can't be helped. Here, here, here. And then, so now rook h3, got queen a1 check. You get many much checks. But there is check here, check here, check here, check here. I think I got to here and I hadn't even realised how to continue, but you play knight e6. And it happens the pawn wins the rook. So you get to an ending where you're going to be a pawn up as white. So take, here is a decent move. Some rook move. You're threatening bishop g7 now, here, here, here. So I got to this position, and of course I bashed out king e2, king e4, and then started thinking. But the engine says to me, no, you should not do that, you should play king f2 first. Because if you go king e2, king e4, basically it's about equal. Whereas if you go king f2, king e4, king here, then black is in zugzwang, which is really quite surprising, I think. Black's problem is that if he takes the bishop off d2, then you can bring the king round to attack the a-pawn. If you get the a-pawn and you take it and go away, if you ever get the pawn to a5, it's almost certain to queen. Because, you know, because of those pawns in the way. So black gets tied down and the endings are winning. And what lines do we give? King, bishop b5, here, here, here. And that's over, I don't know. Presumably bishop here as well, but here, 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 you go check. And you win. So it's quite interesting that that is the zugzwang, which I didn't realise. And the point is, because you're using an engine and you look at the evaluations and it goes, ping, this is a draw with white to move, ping, it's a win with black to move, you deduce that it's zugzwang, and then you start thinking why. And so this was really quite an interesting thing. Okay, and what actually happened? I think h3, bishop b1 was the right move, but he played queen f8. That was a big mistake, because now he gets his knight in exchange. In bishop d2 you can just play queen g4, can't you? He took, I mean rook f7 is also a good move, I think. And after a little while he won. Okay, I mean, we understand that king g1 would be suboptimal, but it's not very likely to happen, is it? Great, so that was that one. That's from this tournament. And then there's one more. There's this game, which is Kamer against Deak, Bogdan Deak. Bogdan Daniel Deak. I'm going to do it very quickly. He plays this funny move, b3. I don't know. On they go. So there are two questions basically in this game. I think around about here it's okay for black still, but at some point it becomes unpleasant. I don't know when it is, but anyway. So one question was... yeah, that's a horrible move to have to play, isn't it? Dear. Really gone very wrong at this point. So here he played bishop b5, and the question is, what's the best move? I'll put it into references for the moment. You might have seen, of course I can't. And it turns out that the best move, I thought queen c4 might be a good move, but apparently the best move by a mile is to play g4. Because if you take as black, then you just get attacked really viciously down the diagonal. And if you play f4, then after, yeah, if you play f4, bishop b5, then now you are going to win this f-pawn. And it's going to be rather unpleasant. Then if it's lost, but it's definitely dangerous at the very best. So, g4 is a move. Right, let's go down to the end. They eventually got to this position, and they did a lot of stuff. He had to defend himself, and it was not much fun at all, but he managed. And I think at some point he won a pawn, but it wasn't very hard to draw here, I think. Just about okay. If you take, then can I just go bishop d1 here? I'm threatening to bring my king over. I mean, g4 may be or may not be a threat at this moment. If I go bishop d1, king c6, king over, king b7, check, king b8, king. Is that bishop? I'm not sure. I'm going to ask it again whether I need to go. If I go king d7, I think I might lose. So, do I play? Bishop d1, yeah, okay. So king here, king d8, king b7, bishop f3 check. got to go there to stop the king getting... If the king goes around, you can go bishop e2, I think. You go here or something, we get to there. Still not very pleasant, but I think we're just about okay now. Very close, but no cigar. Now, what actually happened was they got to this position, and he got his king in, but it wasn't enough. Here it's completely trivial, because all you need to do is to wait till the white king goes around, and then put your bishop in g4 and your king in b7. But the thing that interested me, I started wondering, in this position, whether it was winning if you took off the h-pawn, because I thought, well, you've got the threat of g4, but black's going to have rather a powerful pawn himself. And isn't it going to be possible on a good day that you give up the bishop for the b-pawn and get your king over, and you're in time to exchange the g-pawn for the f-pawn. But actually you can just do this. I'm not sure, maybe go the bishop on e5 as well. Now you go g4 takes here. Now he can't go king. If he goes g3, then f6 wins here. Can't outright, because king d7, f7. If you could play g3, g2 here, then maybe it would be a draw, but you aren't in time. So you go here. And the thing is, white does absolutely nothing. He just waits there, because the bishop and the pawn are a brilliant barrier. If you go pawn equals queen and bring your king over, you just play f6 and defend it. And if you go here, 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 resigns. So, an interesting thing, which I didn't understand for a bit. I was trying to think, is this complicated? But actually it was fairly simple. Once I understood it, you just put the bishop in c5 and then you play g4 and black is completely gone. Sort of trivial once you get it. So I hope you've enjoyed these today. I'm not sure if it's quite as long as usual. I had conjunctivitis, which I'm getting over, so it's still a bit of a strain to do stuff. Anyway, let's check that this is working, which it is, which is a very good thing. Otherwise you would hear me scream. And let's stop now. And I will see you next month on the first Sunday in August, which I have no idea which it is. I don't think I can be bothered to work it out now, but you can find it yourselves. Good, cheers then. I hope you enjoyed this, and see you next time.